So if you saw my Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte post-fight video that I recorded last night, and by the way, that video was recorded straight after that fight ended. You know, watched the fight once, a lot of drama, a lot of emotion, etc. But I got a lot of stick for that video. In fact, it's probably the most stick I've ever got for any video that I've recorded since I started doing this YouTube stuff. You know, a lot of people were not too pleased with what I came out with. But I want to say it how I see it. You know, I've had now opportunity to sleep on it, to reflect, to re-watch the fight. And, you know, was I harsh on Anthony Joshua? Possibly. Was I harsh on Dillian Whyte? Also possibly. You know, I did get this prediction wrong. I picked Dillian Whyte. And Anthony Joshua does deserve credit. You know, Dillian Whyte is a decent yardstick, and Joshua beat him. So, in the spirit of giving him credit, having re-watched the fight, let me tell you what I think Joshua did well. Let me tell you what things I think Joshua should be given credit for. I think clearly Joshua was the better boxer in there. He was a lot more technical. His punches were a lot more technically sound. He had the better jab. He had the better variety of punches. His accuracy was higher. He was more athletic than Dillian Whyte, you know. His movement was actually better than Dillian Whyte's as well. You know, Dillian Whyte's movement was slightly amateurish in there at times. Anthony Joshua took a very, very, very big punch in the second round. I'm just taking out my phone because I made a few notes of things that I wanted to talk about in this video. But yeah, Anthony Joshua took a very, very big punch in the second round. And we'll come on to that later, how he reacted to that. But the one thing I will say in his credit is what we saw here was Anthony Joshua got his second wind. You know, he looked out on his feet in that second round. Whether you're an AJ fan or not, he looked out on his feet. You know, I'm sure we can all agree on that. But he did get his second wind, and you know, he was able to come back. His fitness, I guess, all that training he's put in did kick in. And after a dodgy second round, after a dodgy third round, he began to outbox Dillian Whyte again and re-establish the advantage. You know, Joshua looked very, very dominant in the first round. He looked like he could score a first round stoppage. And, you know, had he turned up the pace in that first round, it is possible that he would have secured that first round stoppage. He looked so good in the first round. But I'm wondering if that performance in the first round led to overconfidence from Joshua. Because I must admit, the second and third round, in my eyes, were poor from him. But, you know, in the spirit of giving Joshua credit and talking about what he did well, he beat Dillian Whyte fair and square. He out-jabbed him, he out-boxed him, he out-moved him. He was clearly the better athlete. He had the greater accuracy. And you know what? I have to say Anthony Joshua finished well in this fight, you know. Once he got Dillian Whyte hurt in the 7th, he didn't let Dillian Whyte escape. So, you know, credit to him for that. Credit to him for that. And Anthony Joshua, in that fight, proved that he is a capable fighter at this level. I think the reason that I'm critical of Anthony Joshua is all the talk about Anthony Joshua is him fighting at world level. You know, let's be honest, people aren't excited about Anthony Joshua defending his British title against Richard Towers, and Derek Chisora, and you know, those sort of names. People are talking about Anthony Joshua in the big fights. Tyson Fury, David Haye, Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, you know, those sort of names. And the reason I'm critical about Anthony Joshua is even though he performed reasonably well at British level, what I saw from him in the fight really makes me question whether he's got that ability to step up to a world level. You know, I guess what I'm saying is that whilst he's capable at this level, how high is Anthony Joshua's upside? How high is Anthony Joshua's ceiling? You know, with the things he does right and maybe the things that he doesn't do right, where will that take him to within the sport? Now look, I picked Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is not a bad fighter, but for me, Dillian Whyte looked poor in there last night, and I've got to say it how I see it. I do. He looked in poor physical condition. He was gassed from the second round onwards. I thought his punches were fundamentally technically flawed. You know, if you look at a sound technical jab, if you look at a Vladimir Klitschko style jab, it's got so much more structure and so much more snap than the Dillian Whyte jab had last night, which was kind of flailing, you know. It wasn't snappy, it wasn't like a ramrod battering ram, it was flailing. Dillian Whyte's punches were wide, a bit too looping, and I thought Dillian Whyte's movement was pretty amateurish as well. I thought his footwork was weak, I thought his foot speed was weak, and even though when he looked at his best, I thought, when he got up close and inside to Joshua, I'm just not sure he had the conditioning to do it as much in the fight as he should have done. Yeah, when he got Joshua hurt in the second round, the reason that I picked Dillian Whyte is because I thought he would hurt Joshua like that. But I thought the Dillian Whyte that I'd seen and that I believed in would be able to finish the job there. And Dillian Whyte was unable to, largely because of his conditioning and, in my opinion, his lack of footwork and foot speed at that particular point. You know, he needed to close down the gap, he needed to continue throwing fast hands to the body, you know, combinations. If you look at some of the other fighters out there, you know, you look at Tyson Fury, you look at Joseph Parker, even Deontay Wilder, the way these guys put punches together, you know, the hand speed of their combinations, the way they can change levels, the way they can throw hook, uppercut, other hook, you know, it's really, really advanced compared to what Dillian Whyte was doing. And I think those names maybe could have got Anthony Joshua out in the second round there. And Dillian Whyte was unable to do that. You know, he performed with credit. Dillian Whyte showed immense heart. He showed immense chin. He showed immense toughness. Fundamentally, he showed a lack of world-class skill in there. But he had Joshua out on his feet in the second round. He had Joshua out on the feet in the second round. And I guess my feeling with Joshua is, for me, after watching this last night, stamina is a huge concern. You know, Joshua quickly... I've had people commenting on my videos saying, you know, they're 18 stone men. Of course they're going to be tired. You know, when was... You know, the Joshua and Whyte were out on their feet after the second round. You know, they were walking zombies in there. At the top level of this sport, you have to go 12 rounds. You have to go 12 rounds. Happens to all fighters that at some point power isn't enough. And I just wonder if Joshua is too reliant on his power. You know, he's got through by knocking people out. Last night he got a result, but with that build, I just question, what's he going to do when the power isn't enough? I think he's too reliant on it, and it's too much of his game plan relates to power. I really do. You know, just to address some more of the comments. You know, I had one guy saying, how can you say Dillian Whyte was poor? You know, you give Tyson Fury credit, yet Vladimir Klitschko was, you know, poor against Tyson Fury. Well, the way I see it is that what Tyson Fury was able to do was completely take away Vladimir Klitschko's game plan away from him. I don't think Whyte was poor because Joshua took away his game plan. I just think Whyte was poor last night. You know, I think that's a different thing. People are saying your guy Tyson Fury got dropped by Steve Cunningham. You know, Anthony Joshua got hit by a much bigger puncher, Dillian Whyte, and stayed on his feet. And you have fair play to Anthony Joshua. Whatever we say about his punch resistance, he did take a big punch from Dillian Whyte on his chin and stay on his feet. You know, fair play to him for that. But for me, it's not pure does he have a glass chin. For me, it's a more broader punch resistance question, you know. Can he take being hit to the body? Can he deal when the bullets are flying? And that's the thing with Tyson Fury. You know, even though Tyson Fury has been hurt in fights before, I view Tyson Fury as an instinctive fighter. If Tyson Fury's hurt, he knows what to do. He knows how to move. He knows how to cover up. You know, when Joshua got hurt last night, he didn't know what to do. He's not calm under fire like Tyson Fury is, you know. When the bullets are flying, Tyson Fury's leaning and bobbing and weaving and moving his head instinctively. instinct kicks in, the instinct of a world-class fighter. Whereas for me, Anthony Joshua became like Frank Bruno. He was stiff, he was robotic, he was static, and a world-class fighter could have taken him out last night. Yes, Fury got dropped, whereas Anthony Joshua stayed in his feet. But for me, Tyson Fury showed that he could recover from that situation more easily by his instinct kicking in. Whereas for me, Joshua, he didn't really know what to do. And as I say, had Dillian Whyte had the stamina of a truly world-class fighter, it could have been game over last night. It really could have been. So that's my thoughts on that. People are giving me a lot of stick for my prediction in this fight, saying I always get the predictions wrong. And yeah, I must admit, it wasn't a vintage week for me on this channel. What I would say is, I don't tend to do extended videos where the winner of a fight is more obvious, Like I did, for example, pick Chris Eubank to beat Spike. But I didn't talk about it for half an hour in a video because there's less to discuss, Eubank was obviously a heavy favourite over Spike O'Sullivan. So there's less discussion point there. The videos that perhaps I focus on, and when there's more debate and more angles to talk about, is when you are looking at picking an outsider. So maybe I'm not inclined to post a video if I think a 1 to 100 shot is going to win easily, because I don't see that as worth discussing. Whereas I do focus on it when I see an outsider who's underrated in a fight, like I saw with Dillian Whyte. And that's why I do a more extended video of them. So that's my thoughts on this fight. Anthony Joshua did do some things well. He did do some things well. But look, that was the first time he's ever had punches thrown at him with bad intentions in a fight. That was the first time he was hit in a fight. And I just don't think he reacted instinctively. I don't think he knows what to do under that sort of pressure. I'm not sure if he can live up to the body attack of a world-class fighter. And the stamina is a huge question, I don't care what you say. After that fight last night, when he's going to be up against a world-class fighter who can move and fight for 12 rounds, there's got to be a big, big question mark over Anthony Joshua there. Credit to him. He showed that he doesn't have a glass jaw. He was able to stay on his feet against Dillian Whyte. He showed that he was the superior boxer, the superior jabber, the more accurate puncher. He did get his second wind. He did show his power once again. But the thing is, you get to a stage in boxing when your power isn't enough. When Deontay Wilder's power wasn't enough, he was able to soundly outbox Bermane Stiverne. When Tyson Fury's power wasn't enough, he was able to play with Vladimir Klitschko for the best part of 12 rounds. For me last night, when Anthony Joshua's power wasn't looking like it was enough, he really started to struggle. And with the performance Dillian Whyte put in being subpar, how's Anthony Joshua going to deal with it? Because that was a close fight last night. It could have gone either way. How's Anthony Joshua going to deal with it when he steps up in opposition? Do you know what? I've been talking for 13 minutes. I'm going to cut this there. I'm going to do a second part to this video because I want to talk about next moves for both guys, and I'm not able to upload videos. My iPad won't let me upload them unless they're less than 15 minutes. So I'm going to cut this now. Check out part 2. I'm going to talk about where both guys go and what type of opponents I see them up against.